What's going on, everybody, and welcome on in to Garage Beers Live, episode number 243, brought to you proudly here on the OBR streaming network. The Orange and Brown Report is your home for the best, the biggest Browns coverage in all of Cleveland, and then every Tuesday night you get to come hang out with us here on Garage Beers, and you get to talk about hockey and basketball and football and everything in between. We're going to talk. We have got one of the most jam-packed shows we have ever had on the Garage Beers podcast. This show may only be rivaled by like episode 100 or episode 200. We've got not one, not two, but three special guests jumping in. And if you're joining us, you're going to be glad you did, because this is going to be awesome. Go follow the show on the socials at the Garage Beers everywhere. And with you, as always, I'm your host, Michael Keefe at Garage Beers Mike. And joining me over on the east side of Cleveland, my co-host tonight, find him online at Garage Beers Chad. It's Chad Meyer. What's up, Chad?
Mike, have you ever had an Arby's burger yet?
No. Are they good?
I'm going to tell you something right now.
Yeah.
I was in a jam today, and when your friends are in a jam, you help them out. I was in a jam today, and my buddy at work got me an Arby's burger, and I gotta tell you, it is that onion bun coupled with.
I'm telling you,
it's just like an authentic, like actually grilled tasting burger. It was great. Like I always stake the claim that Wendy's was the best fast food burger out there. I don't think so anymore. Arby's is up there. Arby's is up there. I mean, I know we're gonna say In-N-Out and Whataburger, but I don't know if I count those, because
you can't get them here.
Those places actually grill their burgers.
Like those places I do love Whataburger, but you also can't get it here. So like
that's true.
Doesn't count.
That's true.
Man, if you could open it, if I had a ton of money, I would franchise a Whataburger here. It'd be amazing.
Do you have any idea how much those managers make?
I have no idea.
Dude, are you kidding me?
At least $6.
In-N-Out. Like I want to open one in like Texas or something. It's like 180 grand In-N-Out managers make.
Yeah, listen, Arby's, you're preaching to the choir here, man. Arby's, if we're talking about fast food, it's vastly underrated. They do things right. I know everybody thinks about them for the roast beefs, and I'm always down for a beef and cheddar. But think about like when fish sandwich season rolls around, the Arby's fish sandwich is the best one.
Yeah.
It is delightful. And so it does not surprise me to hear that their burger's good. Sean wants to know about Five Guys. I love Five Guys. I do love Five Guys.
But Five Guys is up there, man. Like expensive. Like a meal at Five Guys now is like $28.
So
just to get like a combo.
Is it McDonald's at this point?
What I mean, but it's I mean, it's good. I'm just saying, if you're in like, it's like right in that nice like mid-range, right? It's like fast food, but with half the guilt at Arby's, because you're getting like deli meats. You're like, it's deli meats. You're fine.
We like every once in a while we'll just swing through a McDonald's because it's like, hey, we got to just pick up some chicken nuggets on the way to take the kids somewhere. And it's like, just like the dumbest couple of things. And it's like, oh, that's $42. Like, all right, McDonald's, would you settle the hell down? I didn't realize I was at Le McDonald's. Yeah. What is this place?
Hey, listen, over in Europe, they do actually cook the food there, and it is expensive. So like McDonald's is like good in Europe.
Yeah, well, here it's pricey trash, but I like the French fries. Yeah, man. Again, huge show tonight. Joey not here tonight because his buddies down in Nashville. It was just recently Joey's birthday, and his buddies took him to the Nashville Predators game tonight, and he's got sweet tickets. So Joey's down in Nashville hanging at the Preds game. But it's just the two of us, but not really. Not really. We got three special guests on. Later in the show, we have got an awesome conversation we're going to have with just one of the best reporters, sports reporters in Cleveland, Jason Lloyd. He's going to join us from The Athletic. I've been bugging him for weeks to come on with us. And Jason's like, hell yeah, come on tonight. And we're going to have a good time with Jason.
Oh, okay. Here. I was going to say, has he pretended like you're bugging him?
No, not at all. He's been super friendly. So I got nothing but nice things to say. But when we get to that part, we'll talk about the Browns. We'll talk about the Cavs. And maybe if we have time, we'll get into a little Guardians talk just to talk about what more maybe we can expect. Jason covers all of the teams. Later in the show, Chad pulls a huge guest for us. Former Ohio State football player, but better known now as a music artist. This is a dude that played football at Ohio State, got a law degree at NYU, and then decided he was just going to become a really successful musician MEKKA Don, Ohio State super fan at this point, but also big-time musician, has performed with some huge names. He's going to come on and talk to us about Ohio State versus Tennessee, the playoff game at the Horseshoe this weekend, plus just kind of the rest of the playoffs. We're going to get into that later in the show with MEKKA Don. And here in just a minute, I feel like I just said that with a terrible Cleveland accent, by the way. MEKKA Don.
MEKKA Don? That's
Don.
Pittsburgh.
Oh,
Don,
God,
Don.
I'm sorry.
MEKKA Don Ton.
Oh, yeah, right. Get out of here. Sorry. And here in just a minute, we're going to get to an awesome interview. Long time in the making. In fact, when we jumped on with him, and we did pre-record our first interview, the other two are going to be live. But when we jumped on with him, he came. I thought it was so cool. He came on with us, and he was like, "Boys, I've been waiting. This is a long time coming. We're going to talk to the captain of the Columbus Blue Jackets, a man that's been sidelined all season, but great insights." Great conversation and a lot of fun. We got Boone JENNER coming up in just a minute. So, Chad, pack show, tons of stuff going on here for episode 243. A little Christmas present for you guys as we're a week before Christmas. Before we get into all of it, though, we can't do it without our beers.
Nah.
So let's do our garage beers of the week. Chad, why don't you lead us off? What are you drinking on garage beers here tonight?
Well, it's a pretty can. This can is pretty. It's a Collision Bin, 8 Crazy Nights Winter Ale.
It is a good one.
It is a good one. I mean, it's brewed with apples, honey, and cinnamon, and hey, man, it's a nice balance. If anybody knows me, anything about me, I like balance. I like subtlety and balance of flavor. That's what it's all about. That's where the sweet spot hits. That's where this beer hits. It's good. It's also 10%, so I'm good to go.
Attaboy. Yeah. No, impressive balance. Chad's been posting a lot of dance videos with the kids lately on his own personal TikTok. Good balance, dude. Excellent.
Yeah, thanks, man.
You always stay in form. Proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The old roots coming back in me.
The roots. Again, if you're just joining us and you're just jumping into the comments, Gregory H. normally is Gregory H. is using his girl's account, but he's drinking an Amstel, but also having a Patron and pineapple juice on the ice. Like, hey, listen, you got to have your options. Gregory's got his options. We're going Amstel Light, but also Patron and pineapple.
Well, you need the hard stuff when you're talking about the Browns this year. So
that's right. We're going to get to that.
Yeah.
My garage beer of the week is from BrewDog, and it is called the Winter Staycation. And the Winter Staycation is a toffee pecan stout. And this is a delightful beer. 7.5%.
Always delightful.
7.5%.
Okay.
Big dark boy. Big dark one right here.
Oh, it's a dark boy. It's a dark, sweet boy.
The Winter Staycation from BrewDog, and it wets the whistle. Oh,
of course.
It's delicious. It's a little sweet, but not too sweet. It's a little bitter, but not too bitter. It's a really good stout made by BrewDog, which also just happens to be one of my favorite places to go down and hang out down in that kind of new area of the flats. I'm so excited to see what that turns into because so much stuff getting built down there. But those are our garage beers of the week. Keep posting yours. If you're joining us here tonight, tell us what you're drinking. We know Drew in Brick City's here, and I'm sure he's already a few Bush Heavies in, and we'll see what he switches to as the night goes on. But listen, without further ado, we're going to jump in to episode 243 of the Garage Beers podcast, and we're going to do that with our very first interview. Again, one of 3 on the night, so stick with us all night long. But so excited for this. I'll let the intro happen on the interview. But let's throw it over to our interview now that we did with the captain of the Columbus Blue Jackets, Boone JENNER. We'll see it right after this. All right, we are pumped right now to be joined by the captain of the Columbus Blue Jackets, a man that we all miss seeing out on the ice, but who reports recently, and we're going to ask him himself, say that he's out on the ice, getting maybe a little bit closer to getting him back out there, suited up for the Blue Jackets. It is Boone JENNER. Boone, welcome on into the Garage Beers podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Excited.
This has been a long time coming. This is kind of almost like a white whale situation, like because we haven't we've been wanting to talk to you for a while, but we finally made it happen.
Yeah, no, it's great. Finally get to see you guys and talk to you guys. So happy to be here.
Now we're thrilled to have you, Boone. Start with this, man. How you doing? How's the shoulder? How you feeling? How's the rehab? How's everything going?
Feeling good. Obviously, back on the ice this week. You were kind of mentioning that, so that was a nice mark to get to. I went out to see the surgeon again at 8 weeks, which would have been last week, and he kind of gave me the go ahead. So still not doing too much on the ice, but just to get out there in full gear and skating around, it's that's nice. You can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, it's a long time, so it takes time to heal. But I'm feeling good. The rehab's going good. I've never done it, but I like to think I'm doing good at this point of it.
Now I'm curious, and because I'm curious about the life of an injured player, right? Because you hear so many reports about how guys miss guys so much, right? Obviously, you're not around the team a lot, but I'm curious, what is the life of it like, right? Like how much you around? Because I know you go to the facility for treatment and whatnot. Like, what is the life of an injured player like?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. We're in there every day. We go to the rink. We're lucky we have an unbelievable setup there with everything you need. Injury wise, whatever injury it is, I guess. And in my case, a shoulder injury. Been going in there. You get there a little earlier, but you still see the guys. And depending on your situation or where you're at, you do your rehab, do your treatment with the trainers. Then you'll see the strength coach and do what you can there. And that's a good thing is, our setup there at the rink is so good. And even a week after surgery, I'm, getting on some leg machines and biking and things like that you can still do. So that's pretty much the process. Just been going in there every morning. Don't travel with the team. So those long trips, that's when you kind of feel like you're really out of it. And, and then just go back for the games when they're at home and watch them and see the guys there and be around as much as you can.
Is your wife ready to get rid of you? Just get him back on the ice.
Yeah, for sure. We've joked about it, but there's definitely times where it's like, yeah, you can probably go on this road trip. No, to get out of the house. It's definitely new. It's new for both of us. We're just, with our careers, we're on the go so much. So to be home for this amount of time, it's definitely different.
I feel like if I was you, if I was the captain of a team and I was sitting there watching a game at home, I'd be like taking notes. I'd be listening to like Steve Mears and Jody Shelley on the TV broadcast, or I'd be listening to the radio. I'd be texting them like, nah, you guys are wrong. No, you called wrong. Bad call. Like that, that'd be tough for me, man, just sitting there watching like that.
Yeah, like you're saying, watching the away games there.
Right.
Yeah. It's weird. There's no other way to put it. It sucks. You want to be there. You want to be with the guys. And, but I guess, right now you just want to get healthy. So my job right now is just to, crank out the rehab, get into best shape possible and come back ready to go. So, just focused on that and trying to get back to help the boys out.
Now I want to just kind of get into the season a little bit. I mean, obviously I know, you got injured early, but you've been watching a lot. I'm just curious. Your overall thoughts, you start out hot, you've kind of have been grinding it out a little bit lately. What's, what are your thoughts on the season?
Yeah, I think you can see it from watching is, we know what kind of team we want to be. And the guys have done that for, majority of the year. I think lately it's been a little bit less consistent of how we want to play. And the results kind of show that. But when we play to our, identity or who we want to be as a team, we've beaten some good teams. We're right there with everybody, and we're still right in the mix. And this little stretch has been tough for us, but there's been a lot of good hockey in that as well. It's just, something kind of happening or not going our way some nights, or maybe the game slips a little bit. But overall, I think the guys are, playing hard. The will's there. The compete is there. We're playing for each other. I think you can see that, and the fans can see that. So just trying to find that more consistently and go about our, as we go here and really, find out how we're going to win games in this league.
Boone, consistency is something that I think is something that can come as the team grows and kind of gets through everything they have to get through. But, just talking to you about, or I kind of want to hear your thoughts, I should say, about kind of new philosophies in the building with Coach Dean Evison. And I think we were able to see a little bit on the ice, and maybe you can expand on a little bit more of a different level of physicality, a different level of hustle, a different level of toughness that it seems like these guys are displaying out there this year. And how much maybe do we attribute that to what Coach Dean Evison brings, and what can you say about that?
Yeah, I think, right away, right when Dino came in, it was, everything is earned. And I think guys have really taken that. And as a group, we want to earn respect in this league by being a good team and hard to play against. And, coming to Nationwide is not going to be a fun night for the opponents. So I think that goes throughout our whole lineup. And, we're just focused on the team. It's no individuals. It's how we're doing as a team, how we're playing as a team. Are we sticking up for each other? We're playing for each other, and I think we really are. And you can see that in those steps that we've made in that regard. Of we're going to stick up for each other. We're going to play for each other. Guys are doing that, and that goes a long way when you're building it here.
Now, I kind of want to expound on that a little bit there, Boone. And more of a general, not so much like specific to the Blue Jackets, right? Like systems, I'm curious. Systems, tell me if I'm wrong. Systems don't change much from coach to coach, right? Maybe they have the little wrinkles that they want to throw in here. But I'm curious because, I guess a lot of it is getting guys to buy into what you're preaching, right? And I'm just curious. I guess I'm curious. What is it? I guess to put it bluntly, like I know guys can like spot a phony, right? Like right away. Or what is it about a coach that, earns your respect right away in the locker room? You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. There's only, so many forechecks and so many neutral zone forechecks and
Yeah.
breakouts you can do. And, if everyone's on the same page, that's kind of the buy-in you're talking about. It's going to work. And if one guy's not, it's not going to work. And I think that's pretty clear. And, the coaching staff here makes that clear. And, we watch video and you see when someone doesn't do their job, it just doesn't work. And that's kind of, the playing for each other, whatever it is, you got to know your role and what you do and what you bring. And, take a system, for example, like we're talking about, you got to be in the right spot or else, we're going to be in trouble because everyone else on the ice is, going to where they're supposed to be. So I think that's the buy-in that, Dino's asked for us. And I think guys are buying into it right from day one of camp and throughout here as we go.
Like, okay, one more quick. Sorry. I know. I don't know. I like to get inside the inside scoop a little bit. Well, not scoop, but right. So like if
No
real
scoops.
quick, right. You've been around long enough. You've had plenty of coaches. Like what's the number one thing a guy can do to come in and earn your guys' respect right away? And what's the worst thing a guy can do to come in and just get disrespect?
No specific. You don't have to go into specifics, Boone.
Yeah.
We don't have to go into any maybe specific things that have happened.
Yeah.
No,
I'm just,
you get the feeling right away is, Dino comes in and he wants to win. He wants the best for the team. And at the end of the day, that's all you can ask for. He's going to push us to be, the best team we can possibly be. At the end of the day, us and the coaching staff, we want the same thing. We want to be a good team. We want to be in the playoffs. We want to be in the hunt every year. And it's pretty clear that that's his goal. That's our goal. And let's go. So the worst, I don't know. I don't know what the worst thing a coach could do, but yeah, we'll just leave that.
I'm just
Hey, no comment.
Sure. I know a lot of guys like professional athletes across professional sports, like they can spot a phony right away when they walk in the locker room. So I was just wondering if there was something like the difference between that. But let's go. Let's move on.
There's no phonies in our locker room.
Yeah.
So.
Nah. So, Boone, when you're watching this team, I think one thing that you have to talk about, and again, remember, for those of you that are watching, this is not for you to remember, Boone, but for those of you watching, Boone Jenner's been around for over a decade with the Blue Jackets and the captain for a reason. When you watch some of these young guys in the development that they're showing, and some of them having to do it in your stead with you being out, when you watch some of what these guys are doing out there, just talk about the excitement level and what it does for you as a guy getting ready to get back out onto the ice, hopefully in the next few months with this team, what that does to your excitement level to see what some of these young guys, the Fantillis and the Cillingers and Kent Johnson and what these guys are doing out there, because a lot of these guys are starting to make a pretty solid name for themselves in this league.
No, absolutely. They're all, so young, but they've, whether it's their second, third, fourth year in the league, it takes some time in this league. And I know the hype's always there, being high picks and, coming in, but it's hard to find your game in this league in the first couple of years. So now you're getting into year 3, 4, and you can see what they're starting to figure it out and play bigger roles on our team, and just learning the pro game. And all 3 of those guys and other guys that we have taken massive steps that way. They're super young, but they're very good pros, and they work at it, and great teammates, and they're always trying to learn. And that's what you want is young guys. They're asking questions, and now they're kind of established in 3, 4 years in the league, and they're the next guys are probably going to look at them too, and they understand that and how you're going to play. And I think all of them are, like I said, great teammates and pros, and they want to get better and help us, and taking some huge steps, to help us.
Have you been helping out Olivier in his offensive game? Jesus, what a year that dude's having.
Yeah, I mean, he's not me. He's I'm not on the ice, but he's another guy taking a huge step, and I think you can credit to the work he does in the off season, and I see him day in and day out at the practices and games, but the way he puts in the extra work after skates and all that, it's not surprising, to a guy that's his teammate of the success he's having. And he does all the right things, and obviously the toughness and the willingness to be the guy that stands up for teammates and brings that energy. But he also, it's kind of been underrated, his skill, and it's kind of coming out now. And as a teammate, like I said, it's not surprising because I get to see him day in, day out the last few years here, and just very happy for him.
Boone, when we talk about how you put together a good team, right? You can accumulate a bunch of good players, and all these guys out there, right? We've got the best hockey players on the planet all playing in the NHL. So, every team is filled with great players. But for you now, as a guy that's been around over a decade in the league, and as the captain of a team, what kind of message can you send us to? You've seen a lot of teams come and go. You've seen a lot of really good teams that don't win a lot. You've seen a lot of teams that put it together and win Stanley Cups. And you've had to face all those teams. What's the lesson you learn over 10 plus years in the NHL of just saying, hey, if we're going to take that next step, what's that other stuff that needs to happen for a team to not just come out and be pretty good, but to actually compete for cups?
Yeah, I think it's that, we've kind of touched on it, but the buy-in of playing for each other, the buy-in of, you got 23, 25 personalities from all over the world, and how you're going to get together and work towards a common goal. And I think the more you're around each other, the more you push each other in practice, to make each other better, the more you hang out at the rink, away from the rink, and go through hard times, go through good times, bad times, whatever it is. I think that just builds trust within your group. And, I think all the good teams, I think you can look around the room and you know exactly what you're getting from each and every guy that night. And, that's a pretty special bond when you get it. And that's when you can, really, take off, I think, as a group. And I think it's just that trust and that factor of you're going to be there no matter what for your teammate. And yeah.
Is that the toughest thing about being an NHL player? Like, what's the toughest thing about being an NHL player that just fans don't see? That's like I mean,
off the top of my head, probably the injuries.
Yeah, right.
Probably.
That's timely. That's timely.
Kind of going through that right now, so it's not easy, but I mean, that's what comes to mind.
So, Boone, before we let you out of here, I want to ask one last question of you. And I know it's something you guys have talked about a lot, but it seems like it's something you guys are willing and kind of want to talk about a lot. And obviously, there's a group of you guys that have been around with the Blue Jackets for several years, and you guys have been through a couple of situations now that most guys don't have to go through ever in their entire careers. And you've lost 2 teammates, most recently, Johnny, this offseason. So just talk about, again, in the building, what the guys have done, and kind of the mood and how things are inside the locker room right now, how guys are kind of keeping the memory of Johnny going, how they're taking motivation from him and how he played, and how kind of the veterans are helping to lead, because we're seeing some of these guys really step up. It seems like some of this veteran players and how they're helping to kind of lead the team through just a really tough situation to start the year, and keeping that motivation and memory alive through the year.
Yeah, it's it's an unimaginable tragedy or situation, for us and Johnny's teammates, and obviously we just think about his family and trying to be there for them, and as a group we miss him every day. We really do, and we want to remember him, just how he was. And I think you've heard multiple guys talk about that and the joy he brought to the rink, and how good of a teammate he was. He just went out and played hockey. He such a down-to-earth man, and beyond that, just husband and father and son, brother, everything. So we miss him. I miss him every day, and I know other than you see the jersey in the stall every game, and his stall is still in our locker room, his stall is still in our dry stall room. He'll be with us forever, and I think certain guys have things on their sticks, and it's just a lot that we're going to remember him forever. He's going to be with us forever, and I think just talking about the memories and the stories, I think kind of help us as a group. And there's a lot of funny Johnny stories, so we're just trying to keep those going, and remember him that way, and we do each and every day. And obviously I think one of the first things Dino said is what would Johnny want us to do, and that's kind of stuck with us and myself of he just wants us to go play and have fun and be around each other, and so just trying to stick together as a group and talk about them and remember them best we can.
What's that one real quick? What's that one thing that one story that puts the biggest smile on your face about Johnny?
Put me on the spot.
There's probably some that you can't tell here. So
yeah, no,
not those ones.
There's a ton, and I can go on for a while. I don't know. I'm sure you've heard of his pregame meal. It's it was a sight to see.
Was it plain pasta? Is that what it was?
Just a mountain of pasta, butter noodles, and I'm talking a mountain of it. And and then a Coke, and there's just so many. I don't know, guys. It's
that's
tough
great.
To share, but there's a lot, and we laugh about it and joke about it every day.
Well, he probably needed a carb up. He was what, like 165 pounds, 70 pounds, right?
Got to carb up.
Put some weight on him.
You come off pasta, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Boone, JENNER, man, this has been it's been awesome. As Chad said, a long time coming. We're glad we finally get to have you on Garage Beers here. It was great to catch up. It's great to hear that you're feeling good. Great to hear the shoulder's doing well. You're back out on the ice, and hopefully you're progressing enough to where we get to see you out there with the guys this season, because we certainly miss watching you out there. It's a joy to watch you play. It's a joy to watch you as a leader on the team, and we appreciate you coming on and joining us here on Garage Beers tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Getting better. Thanks.
How about Boone JENNER joining us just the other day, talking about getting back out there, the captain of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And I'll tell you what, the Blue Jackets, with a couple of the leaders on that team, specifically Boone, and I feel so stupid for not asking him about Zach Werenski and the season he's having, but we were a little bit pressed for time. But Blue Jackets are in really good hands when it comes to the leaders that they have there, especially that guy. And I cannot wait to see him back out in the ice. Big time thank you to Boone JENNER for jumping on with us tonight.
Boone, let me ask you something. Systems don't change much from coach to coach,
Oh,
right? Maybe you got to put a few wrinkles here and there, but so to me, a bunch of NHL coaching is all about the buy-in. What does Dino do so well that gets you guys to buy into what he's selling?
Is that what you were trying to ask?
And a follow-up to that, Boone. I'm just curious when it comes to the coaches that win the locker room and the coaches that lose the locker room. What's one or two things that distinguish that? That's the question I was trying to ask guys before I had a stroke. So
Yeah, Chad had to clean up the damn puddle that went down his leg as he tried to ask that question.
I just had a fucking stroke there. Jesus Christ. Spit it out, Meyer. Spit it out.
Oh,
Jesus.
man. Nah, listen. Boone was great. Super gracious with his time. That interview actually happened right before the game just the other day. And super gracious with his time. He was awesome. And he gave us a nice compliment before, which was super cool to hear. So big time shout out to Boone Jenner. Listen, this episode is a locomotive that's just going to keep on rolling. We might even miss some of our normal weekly things, but it's just guest after guest after guest. And our next one is here. And I want to get him in here because this is another thing that's been a little while coming. I feel like I've harassed this guy because Tim Elkhorn, our buddy, the voice of the Cavs, gave me his phone number, which Jason is probably furious about. But I've sent him about 200 texts, and he always gets back to me. And we've finally been able to put this together. So we're bringing him on now from The Athletic. This guy covers everything Cleveland sports, and he's really good at it. And I'm really excited to have him in right now. It's Jason Lloyd. Jason, welcome on into the Garage Beers podcast.
What's up, guys? You're not bothering me at all. I'm sorry it took so long to connect.
How many times have you threatened Tim Alcorn since you've
Not
seen
at
him
all.
because he gave away your number?
No, not at all. Not at all. I was talking to Mike Lucas earlier tonight, and he said he saw I was coming on. He said to tell you guys hello. I didn't realize he's been on a couple of times already. So that's how what's the word? How late to the party I am, I guess. What a procrastinator I am that he's already been on multiple times before I made it on once.
Well,
yeah, we're gradually running the gamut of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, here, Jason. So you're the next in line here.
Love it. I love it.
Man, I think Jay Crawford was like our second ever interview, maybe second or third, wasn't he?
Oh, really?
Early
okay.
on, like 2020.
Yeah.
Wow.
We played to the college. We played to the college strings of him, because Mike went to BG.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to play that up.
Yep. Oh, he loves BG. Yeah.
Yes, he does. Our boy Adam the Bull, he and I bond over ice cream. It's great. And yeah, that's it. So, Jason, man, really excited to have you. Really enjoy the work that you do, and you cover all the teams. So what we kind of want to do with you is just hit on like kind of some quick hitters on each of our teams right now. And I don't want to start with the dumpster of depression.
Thank you.
Going on the lake. I want to start with the best thing going in Cleveland right now. And it's the Cleveland Cavaliers. And we saw them last night against the Brooklyn Nets, Jason. And it's one of the best games that they've played in a while. They've kind of gone through that little stretch. They were so hot to start the year, a start unlike any other in team history. And then they went through that little stretch where even the game before against Washington, it was a fight. And they kind of get out of their game every once in a while. And you kind of expect it through the course of a long season, but they've gotten back. So, man, just your thoughts, because we haven't been able to connect on the team, but your thoughts to this point. We've seen them lose a couple games. We've seen them win a lot of games, but just kind of what you're seeing and how you feel like, I guess what I'm saying is, I don't think you can get a lot from what they did that first 15 or 16 games because it was just an awesome run and they were hot. Yeah. But now they faced a little adversity. They haven't played well in some games. They've played well in some games. So what are we learning about them as they go through this kind of next stretch of the season?
They're really friggin' good.
Yeah,
they are legit. The Warriors game is what cemented it for me when I was at the Warriors game, and they just absolutely cooked them.
Yes.
And I was sitting there watching the game going, they are Warriors-ing the Warriors. And I talked to Draymond after the game and said, Evan in Cleveland's offense looks a lot like you here. And he said, absolutely. And he said, the difference is he's 7 feet and I'm not. So, advantage Cavs on that. And then he said, he told Steph in the fourth quarter as they were putting a bow on it, that that's how the Warriors have been cooking teams for a decade now. It's the drive, kick, swing. It's not just the dribble penetration and the kick, which is what the previous version of the Cavs were really good at from 2014 to 2018. It was Kyrie and LeBron, ball dominant, get into the lane and kick to the shooters, and they would go 5 wide with Channing at the 5, Kevin at the 4, and it was really hard to defend. And that was really just a drive kick. This is the drive kick swing, and they're making the extra pass, and guys are wide open. And that's why I think you're seeing some 3-point percentages that are well above what career norms have been. Some of it's they're going to regress to the mean. I think we're seeing a little bit of that now with Ty Jerome going on.
Yeah.
Guys like Karis LeVert, it's a career year. And it was funny because I just did a podcast tonight with Mike. We recorded a Cavs pod for UCSS, and I didn't realize this until he pulled it up. But Mike pulled up Karis LeVert's shot chart. And if you didn't know any better, you'd think you're looking at James Harden. It's everything at the rim and threes. There's no mid-range. And that's one of the points of emphasis, I think, is they've eliminated the bad shots out of his game. So everything with Karis, it's attack or threes. And Kenny Atkinson mentioned a couple of weeks ago that he felt like he was disappointed that they didn't get more out of Karis in Brooklyn. Like he always felt like there was more to get, and they could never get there. And I just think some of the familiarity that they had from working together in Brooklyn and now coming back here and getting a second go at it. And obviously Kenny knows Karis so well. They've really maximized Karis's game and his ability. They've really maximized his strengths and limited his weaknesses. And as a result, they've gotten the best version of Karis that any team has gotten, in the most consistent version. And obviously, I didn't even mention Mobley's production and his evolution into becoming the player. I said for years, Evan has to be the best player on this team if they're legitimately going to win a championship, just because it's so hard. It's not impossible. Every time I say it's hard to win a championship when your smallest player is your best, or little guy's your best player, everyone says, well, what about Isaiah Thomas? Well, what about Steph Curry? Yeah, guys, it's possible. It just doesn't happen very often. Like most of the time, it's big guys.
Right.
It's LeBron, it's Giannis, it's bigger bodied people being your best player. So that's what they need Evan to become. And I think we're seeing that. And obviously Darius coming back into form. Donovan is there when you need him, but he doesn't have to do it every single night like he did in the past. It's a really good blend right now.
Do they still have anything, left to prove? I mean, I know we're still in a young season, but it just, I don't know. To me, Jason, it feels like we're already to that point where this is sustainable. Like we're already to the point where the only way this team is going to, this team is only going to beat themselves as we progress into in the season. Like, because this team's going to make the playoffs. Let's be honest with you. But are we to that point where this is sustainable, or are they just going to? I don't know.
What they have to prove is that they can do it in April, May, and June. That's what they have to prove. They have to prove that they can beat Boston. I think Atlanta is way better than people realize. Yeah. Atlanta is long and athletic. And that's the type of thing that's going to give this team trouble, because that's what they are not. And Boston obviously is really long and athletic, and they're really freaking good. And so those are the type of teams that I think could give this team trouble. The debate that we've had on UCSS for 6 weeks now, and that we're going to have for 2 more months until you get to the trade deadline, is what does this team do with the trade deadline? Because they're a couple $1 million into the tax right now. And the plan was not to be a tax-paying team this year. The plan was to start being a tax-paying team next year.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go down rabbit holes and bore you guys with numbers and nerd out on cap math. But what's important to realize is if you start your tax clock now, then you are considered a repeat offender in the 28-29 season. And that doesn't sound like some people may look at that and go, well, what's the big deal? Like, so what? Like, you got a chance to win now. And I agree. You do have a chance to win now. But you also have to look in the future. And you look at what's happening to some of these other teams with where these salaries are going and these repeat offender taxes are going. The Milwaukee Bucks partner had to sell the team because of the payroll and how expensive the payroll is getting. That's why Jimmy Haslam owns the Milwaukee Bucks today, because Mark Lazary couldn't afford where the payroll was going. He couldn't afford the payroll. The Boston Celtics are for sale because the family can't afford where the payroll is going. Like, this is what we're talking about here. And that's not to say, and Dan can afford whatever payroll he put in front of him. But that's just to give you a little bit of context of between the salaries, the repeat offender clauses, clocks, and everything else. It's a real thing. And you would hate to have to cut your window short on the back end of this because you started your clock a year too early. So it really matters when you start becoming a tax-paying team. So it leaves them in a predicament. And I'm totally going on a tangent that's not even close to answering your question, but
this is great.
It leaves them in a predicament of what do you do? Do you push in now when they have limited trade assets? They have a first round pick in 2031 that they can trade. So if an NBA team wants to scout 8th graders, they have a first round pick to trade because that's who's of it. It's this year's 8th grade class. I think if I did the math correctly, because I actually have a son who graduates in 2030 and then you have 1 year to wait. So he's in 8th grade. So the 8th graders today are who is available when the Cavs have their first round pick to trade in 2031. So if there's a GM or a team president out there who feels like he has 6 years of job security in front of him, maybe they can find someone to take the 2031 first round pick. Other than that, they still don't have a ton of trade assets. So do you push in with what you have, move into the tax and go now? Do you shed $2 million, which may not be as easy as you think, given how well everybody's playing? Do you shed $2 million, get under the tax line, kick the can down the road like you planned all along, start your tax clock next year? Because again, I'll go back to the Celtics. I don't think that the Celtics can stay together as this version as long as people think because of where these salaries are going. So the East may open up even more a year or two from now. But having said that, you never know what the future holds. You never know what kind of devastating injuries around the corner or whatever. So if you feel like you have a legitimate chance to win it now, you may just have to push in now and go.
Jason,
how's that for answering? What do they have left to prove?
That was awesome. And I gotta cut you off, both of you. Chad, are you walking on a fucking treadmill?
That's what I was going to say. Are you on a treadmill?
Yeah, maybe. No.
It was throwing me for a minute. I'm like, what is this guy's deal? I'm like, oh my God, he's on a treadmill.
What's happening? This is the first time we've been doing this over 4 years. This is the first time I've seen Chad on a treadmill. What is happening right now?
Well, it's my wife's little stand-up desk thing here, and I'm like, okay, might as well just walk on it while I do it. But anyway,
I mean, I got some dumbbells in the basement. Should I start doing dumbbell curls in the middle of this?
Let's all work out. Well, Mike,
I'm going to be on the Peloton here in a minute. Watch out.
Hey, would anybody be surprised though?
I mean,
wait a minute.
Online. Oh, nice.
We got a Christmas ale there?
Christmas ale. Yeah.
Shout out Great Lakes Christmas ale. I want to say while Chad is walking on the treadmill, he's also
I'm not doing it anymore. I stopped, guys. You made me feel bad.
He's also drinking a 10% beer.
His laptop, yeah. But would anybody be surprised? I mean, you see clips online of like 7-foot freshmen in high school now. In I don't know. I think I saw one down in Florida somewhere. I mean, would anybody be surprised if they're the next big thing is getting scouted right now?
Of course they are.
Oh, for sure, it's happening. For sure. But I'm just saying, if you're a GM, you don't trade for a pick that's 6 years out usually, unless you have unbelievable job security, unless there's no protections on that pick whatsoever. You know, like up until now, they didn't even have a first round pick to trade. So now they do because of the Donovan trade. So the Donovan trade wipes out their next control of their next 5 drafts. They have 2 first round picks coming, but they lose their picks in 25, 27, and 29. Yeah. They can trade swap rights on 30, and then they can trade 31 outright. So we'll see.
So Jason, because we're talking around a topic that a lot of people are starting to talk about, which is do you push any chips to the center? And in my head, I'm sitting here going, well, obviously you've got the best record in basketball. And obviously you are this far along into a season where you are now a title contender. Like there's going back from this, and that goes to Chad's point. But you're also doing this without a guy that's supposed to be your starting 3, right? Mm-hmm. You're doing this without a guy in Max Strus that has not played this year, who, man, I don't know what he's going to look like coming off of an injury, but we've seen this Kenny Atkinson and his staff and what they've done to this offense. And if you don't think, I don't know that there's going to be too many players, Evan Mobley for sure, that benefit more from this offensive system than a guy like Max Strus. Like, this thing is built for Max Strus. But that also strengthens the bench when a guy like Okoro or a guy like LeVert or a guy like Dean Wade, who has been inserted into the starting lineup, has to go back to the bench. Like, when I'm sitting here watching it and knowing what you said, which is you got to be careful how early you go in on this thing because it could cut short on the back end.
Right.
sitting here, somebody asked me about it earlier. Somebody on TikTok asked a question of like, who do they go out and get? How do we strengthen this team? And I'm thinking, I don't know. Listen, would I pick Boston in a series over the Cavs right now? Yes, I would.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
would too.
sorry to say that. I know it makes people sad. Do I think the Cavs would have a chance? Sure.
Yeah.
They would have a chance, especially if Evan Mobley's doing what he's doing. But like, is there a route do you see for them, especially hoping Max Strus is back at some point? Is there a route you see for them? Is there a position you feel like, hey, they really should address this year?
They need more size. And
Yes.
whether that's, and it's, I am fascinated with Dean Wade at the 3. If Dean can stay healthy, because he gives them some length at that spot. He's a better defender than people realize. He's a good rebounder. He obviously could shoot the 3. He's got to stay healthy. He hadn't been healthy now the last 2 years in the playoffs. And it's a lot easier to find, but if you move him into the starting lineup permanently, then it really saps what little size you have coming off the bench. Now you're relying on Tristan Thompson. So, and I love Tristan. I've known Tristan for 10 years. I love him. You don't want him being your first big off the bench in a playoff series. So it's easier to find a backup big on the trade market, buyout market, whatever, than it is to find a 3 with length who can shoot. Those are really hard to find. So if you move Dean into the starting lineup permanently, and we'll see what Kenny does when Max is back and when Max is built up to full minutes. You can move Dean into the starting lineup at the 3. You can get a backup big a lot cheaper, and now you feel a little bit better about just your overall size. I just think they need more size, whether it's at the 3 or whether it's at in the front court, as a backup. They just need. I think they need one more big. I think they're good everywhere else, and there is a world probably $2 million is not a lot. There's probably a world where you could trim a few million in payroll to get under the tax and then also add a backup big. I have no idea what that trade is right now, but it's possible. I'm going to be curious to see. It was funny because I flippantly said about 5 games into the season, well, you can just dump Ty Jerome and that'll get you under the tax line. And then Ty Jerome played like Kobe Bryant for 6 weeks, and people were like, oh my God, how could you get rid of Ty Jerome? I'm like, well, guys, Ty Jerome isn't this good. I don't know how many devils he sold his soul to play at this level and shoot at this level. And now you've seen a little bit of regression with him back to maybe the player he is. There's ways like maybe it's what's that?
It's about a 20-game contract for that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Maybe it's George Niang and you take back a little less. I don't know. I don't know what the move is, but I think that there's a move out there where you can listen, you're not getting top end people by doing what I'm saying.
No.
But you got a body, you got a big body that can help you a little bit. And you're not looking for a lot. If everybody stays healthy, you're not looking for much in a postseason series out of this mythical big that I'm talking about. 8 minutes. 7 minutes, 9, you know what I mean? So I think you can make a really strong case both ways to push in, stay over the tax line and go, and to get under the tax line. And I hope people understand that if the trade deadline comes and goes and they stand pat, or I don't think they should stand pat because they're $2 million over. Either get under the tax line or go all in. If you're going to go into the tax, then go into the tax.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Dorian Finney-Smith, come on down.
Well, yeah, that's the latest name. So I hope that if they cut salary, people don't throw up their hands and say, "Oh my God, what are they doing?" Because there is a method to the madness.
Yeah,
I know exactly what it is. I know exactly what they're doing. I know why they're doing it. And it makes perfect sense, especially if you believe in, in a playoff series, you're not playing 10 guys, 11 guys like Kenny's doing now. In a first round series, you can play 9 in the first round. By the time you get to the finals, you're playing 8 and you're trusting 7. Yep. So that 8th guy is getting 4 minutes, end of the first quarter, start of second, something like that. So you're really only playing like 7 guys.
Yep.
And so you really cut that rotation all the way back by the time you get to the finals.
All right, we talked about the Cavs as much as we could, and I love them, and I wish we could just talk about them the whole time. But you're on here and you cover all of them, so let's go into the pit. Let's go into the pit of despair. Let's go to the 3-11. Can you guys believe I even can say this sentence? Can you guys believe I'm saying the sentence, the 3-11 Cleveland Browns? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me with what has happened there? Jason, I need a little help, man. And man, we all have reputations. I don't know. Maybe you might not be the guy to help me with this, but I need a little help seeing a little light at the end of this, because I'm nervous that I don't see the light for the Browns. I'm nervous now that we're at the end of this season and nothing matters. I know everybody's worked up about DTR starting or Jameis, and I'm like, who cares? Who cares at this point about starting a quarterback for the Cleveland Browns? Because if they're going to be a good football team, the starting quarterback isn't on this roster right now. Yeah. Doesn't exist. Where's the light, Jason? Is there light? Is there somewhere to look for this team and say, here's how they are going to fix this, and they're not going to wait 5 years. It's going to be next year.
The power has been shut off. There is no electricity left in the building. As far as I had a feeling. I was actually having that conversation the other day with somebody over there that there is no quick fix to this. There's no quick fix. I don't mean to cut you off. This is
go ahead. This is an expert level comment from Chef Brian K. It's always darkest before pitch black. It's not going to get lighter. It's always darkest before pitch black. That's so good.
Yeah. This is not a great quarterback draft. Allegedly, I'm not an NFL talent scout. I'm not going to claim, but from everyone who does this for a living says this is not a great quarterback draft. Right now, they're not even positioned to draft one of the top crappy guys that are out there. So, and you never know. You never know. Like Lamar Jackson, bottom of the first round, right? So you just, but this may be like an 18-month journey before you get to, honestly, it might be. Because everyone's like, well, re-sign Jameis to be your bridge quarterback, or you may not get to the other side of the bridge this offseason. That's just the reality of it.
The bridge is collapsing.
The bridge, the bridge is termites holding hands right now. So
it's a Baltimore bridge. Is it too soon? Is that too soon?
Yeah, oh man,
God,
I'm not touching that one.
Sorry.
I mean, listen, Kirk Cousins just got benched today, so that's going to be the next big topic of,
oh God,
is that the guy? Well, the Browns had a chance to go get Cousins in 2022, and they were not interested. They went for Deshaun, and we know how that turned out. Maybe now, I think Kirk has one guaranteed left on his deal now, so maybe now they revisit that. I don't know. I mean, Justin Fields kind of interests me a little bit, I guess. Maybe. I think he's probably going back to Pittsburgh, though. But there's just no great option. That's what I'm saying. I don't know that they're going to have this resolved in one offseason. This very well could stretch into next year. Like, you spend your first round pick on a left tackle and try and fix that, because I don't think you can trust DeJuan Jones at that spot at all. And I don't think Jed Wills is back on this team next year. So now
go into quarterback, but just to throw in here, because here's what sucks about it. And it feels like 2018 again. And listen, now I know we can step back and say Lamar Jackson was in 2018 and Josh Allen was in 2018 and all that. But you got to throw yourself back to 2018 and go, nobody knew who was going to be the best quarterback in that draft.
Right.
We were talking about Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield, and nobody knew. Yep. And I'm watching these other teams that go through this process, and it's like Joe Burrow. Oh, okay, got that. Easy. And it feels like here we are again. We're going to have a top draft pick because that's how bad we are. And we're probably not going to win another game. That's fine. But like you said, we're back in another year where it's like, is there even a guy you can take? And I just feel like you get into that quarterback purgatory where it's like you're bringing in Derek Carr and Kirk Cousins and Jameis Winston, and it's an eternal pit of despair. I feel like you can't live in that.
It's a miserable place to be. Jimmy's obsessed with getting the quarterback right, so obsessed that he just burned through $230 million. And I don't know if we want to go through and relitigate history. I totally get why they did what they did. I totally 100%. Get it. But
On
It didn't
paper, you
work.
make that trade 100 times out of 100.
I mean,
at the time, based on the knowledge we had at the time.
Deshaun was an upgrade over Baker. Now you
Yeah.
take into account all of the baggage. The thing that's impossible to know is how much mental and emotional damage did he suffer from everything he went through. And when I say it like that, it makes it sound like he's a victim. I'm not painting him as a victim.
No.
I'm not painting him as a victim. He's not a victim. But anyone put in that position, whether you put yourself there or not, anyone who went through being humiliated, having their reputation destroyed, sued by all those women, have settled all those cases, it takes a toll on you.
Yes.
And I thought for a while he's just broken. He's just broken.
Yeah.
I thought that last year. I said that last year on Channel 3. He's just broken. And now when you compound it with all the injuries and everything else, it obviously was a disaster. But they still have $170 million they owe him on the cap. $170 million. So I do think he's back on the roster next year. I don't know that he's
play.
No, he's not going to play. But he's going to count on the 53.
Yeah.
So I've said for a while now, just send him home. Pay him his money and send him home. I've talked to players in the locker room who say it's a much different vibe when he's not there. It's just different and it's better. So I don't know why you would invite that back into. Why would you invite that back into the building? Just send him home.
That's why we bring you on the show, Jason. It's that little snippet right there that we can't bring that you can, because you could see it. You could see it with these guys. You could see the body language. The minute that guy was gone, you could see it.
Yeah.
Now, for all the people that are mad that he's going to be on the roster next year, they don't have a choice. There is no. They can cut him, but it wrecks the next 2 years.
Not unless they want to have an $85 million cap hit next year. Like that's
right.
Everyone. I keep hearing. This has become popular last week or so. Well, look at Denver. Look at Denver. Denver's cap hit was half of what the Browns would be. And yes, the cap is going up, but it's not going up by double.
Right.
So an $83 million dead cap hit for one player is an atrocity. So I think this is how it's going to go. This isn't source. This is how I think it goes. They keep him on the roster at least one more year. They redo his deal again, convert more money again, do exactly what they've done before, kick more money down the road, because by kicking more and more money down the road, as the cap continues to rise, the percentage that he eats up is less and less. So that's why you keep him on the roster. That's why you keep redoing the contract. And that's why you keep kicking as much money as you can into the future, because the cap will be higher. So the hit isn't as punitive. In terms of who you get to replace him, man, I have no idea. But I'm not convinced that they're going to have their quarterback of the future by the end of the draft and by the end of free agency. Is it possible? Yeah, of course it's possible. Is it a certainty? No.
I mean, does that, like, stupid question here, kicking more money down the road, does that also add years? Or it can just.
No, he's got 2 guaranteed years left. All it does is it adds void years at the end of the deal, which is just paperwork. It doesn't mean anything. After this, and I'm not a cap expert. I've talked to guys who are, but I don't know beyond next year if you can then cut him and eat it with the final guaranteed year. I don't have the answer to that. My guess is yes. At that point, they would carry him for 1 year.
Okay.
And then cut him, and then you figure out the math from there. But right now, $172 million cap hit over 2 years is just I think it's just untenable at this point.
Well, you talked about being a cap expert, and I'm going to give one of our guys on the OBR a shout out. We got Jack Duff in here. He's wrote extensively on the topic. So if you're watching this and you want to know more about what the cap looks like over the next 2 years with Deshaun Watson and what they do after this year versus next year and all that, go check out what Jack Duffin has done. Jason, all right. You're like 2 minutes left. We're going to call this the sandwich of love. And it's the great Cavaliers, the shitty Browns. And now let's talk about the last thing, which is a crazy start to the offseason for the Cleveland Guardians. The Andres Jimenez trade that took the world by storm last week, where they bring in Spencer Horowitz, who becomes just a Guardians icon in his 4 minutes.
What was your favorite memory of the Spencer Horowitz era?
Oh my God, just lifetime Spencer Horowitz, Cleveland Guardian. And they bring in.
It was the highlight of his homers against the Rangers.
That's
Yeah,
right.
in a
right.
Blue Jays
Yeah.
in a Blue Jays uniform.
In a Blue Jays uniform.
Blue Jays
Yeah.
uniform.
Yeah.
So they bring in Luis Ortiz from the Pirates. It shows you the desperation they have for pitching. Obviously, bringing Shane Bieber back, Luis Ortiz. They lose their two kind of weird veteran guys that did well for him, and Alex Cobb, who signed a wild contract,
That's insane.
and Matthew Boyd,
Yeah.
who I would have loved to see back. But Jason, as a guy that covers the Guardians, really quick last comment. Kind of where do you see him going from here? They've built up a couple pitchers on that pitching staff, but Guardians fans are always kind of waiting. You made it to the ALCS, so what's the next move that's going to put you over the edge?
I was not at all surprised by the Jimenez deal. I said on UCSS during the playoffs in October, what if that's the move? Everyone assumed they were going to move on from Rocchio and slide Jimenez over and open second for Bazzana. And there's just too much money at the end. It's not a bad baseball contract. It's a bad Cleveland contract. So if you look at what they're paying Ortiz compared to what these other guys are making, the Cobb and the Boyd deals, it's just insanity. So it's totally insane. Alex Cobb pitched 16 innings and he got $15 million.
$15 million, and he's like 39 years old.
And he's never healthy. He's just a walking bandage.
Wild.
So what comes next? I don't think they're trading Josh Naylor. I know that was out there a couple weeks ago. The first base free agent market is pretty thick. There's a lot of guys to go get, and I don't think his value is great because he's soon to be a DH. And at some point, listen, he can hit 30 home runs and drive 100 RBIs. That's pretty valuable to this team.
Oh, yes.
So I don't think they're going to trade him. I don't think that there's another huge move coming. I don't think the payroll is going to be much different than what it was last year. I know people don't want to hear that, but I think that's just the reality where they're at. So that was their big move. They dealt from their position of strength, middle infielders, and they addressed their biggest deficiency, which is starting pitching. So now you go to the season. Yeah. I don't think Bieber's back until August. A lot of these April Tommy John guys have trended more toward August. So I think that set your expectation at that, and then if he's back before then, it's a bonus. They signed him for October. Now they got to get to October. But you're going to start the year, Bybee, Williams, Lively, Luis Ortiz. If you can get something out of Tristan McKenzie at this point, that's a win. They actually really like his stuff. They thought he pitched well over the second half in terms of his stuff. He was just kind of tentative and not really attacking the strike zone. So he has to get over the mental hurdle of pitching with a tear in his elbow and get back to believing in his stuff, finding that confidence again, and attacking hitters. And if he can do that, they feel like he's still going to be okay. So now if you've got McKenzie in there as well, we're having a completely different conversation about this team. So I think that they feel pretty good about where they're at with the rotation now, not with Shane and with the trade that they made. And the lineup, it sort of is what it is. I would like to see Kwan in center field with two new guys on each side of him, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think you're going to see Kwan back in left field. DeLauder will not start the year in the majors, I don't think.
Ooh.
They kind of want to see. I mean, it's contract clock, right? Like,
yeah.
And he's had a ton of injuries, and they just want to see him get into the routine of playing 3, 4, 5 days a week. And once he does that, I think he'll be up sooner than later. Bazzana, if all goes well, could be up this summer, and then we'll see.
Hey, Jason Lloyd, man, this was awesome. Glad you came on. Thank you for putting up with the incessant text.
No, it's all good. Sorry it took so long, and hope it was worth the wait.
It was totally worth the wait. Check out Jason Lloyd at The Athletic, and then Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show all over the place. Nobody covers Cleveland sports quite like Jason Lloyd, so go follow him on Twitter at by Jason Lloyd. Jason, man, this has been a pleasure. Thank you for finally doing this, and I owe you a beer next time we're at Mulligan.
You're good. You're all good, man. I got to go do some squats now. You make me feel good.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
Working out with Jason and Chad next.
That's right.
Next pod. Let's start a pod.
Deal. All right. I'll see you guys.
See you, man. How about Jason Lloyd? Again, The Athletic, Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. The dude covers everything, and he's got insight on everything. And, man, he threw a couple things in there in that conversation, especially that comment he made about hearing from players in that locker room about Deshaun Watson and when he's there versus when he's not, man. That was a great little nugget that we got out of Jason Lloyd there. Not that it's weird and not that anybody didn't expect it, but big-time shout-out to Jason Lloyd. Again, the train for episode 243, Chad. It
Yeah.
just rolling because
Let's go, right?
our next guest is in the back, is in
Let's
the
go.
green room, if you will.
He's what?
And I'm so excited for this because this guy makes me feel inadequate
Wait.
in every way.
Did you say he's in the weight room?
No. Don't start walking on the treadmill.
Oh,
again.
the waiting room. Okay,
Please
all
don't
right, all
start
right.
walking on the treadmill. This guy makes me feel inadequate in all areas. This guy plays football at Ohio State on the football team.
Yeah.
He gets done playing football at Ohio State, and he's like, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to NYU and go to law school.
Yeah, not a big deal.
Yeah, not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
Gets his law degree at NYU, becomes a successful attorney. And then he's like, you know what? I'm going to be just a crazy successful musician on top of it.
Yeah.
You know what? Law will be there for me when I need it. But I'm going to dive into music, and I'm going to work with some of the biggest artists on the planet, right? I'm going to work with Bone Thugs. I'm going to work with MGK, these Cleveland guys. This guy is awesome. I want to play a little something. I want to intro this guy the proper way.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
I want to intro him the proper way, and I'm going right to his own Twitter page. So let me know, Chad. Let me know when you can see it, because I'm a dope when it comes to this.
You're a dope. Okay. Well, I mean,
see
you're a
it?
dope regardless.
Can you hear
No, I don't see anything.
it? You don't
This
see
is
it.
terrific. This is going great.
Do you not see anything?
I see nothing.
Oh, you know why? There he is. There he is.
Yes, let's go.
This guy writes, buckle up, baby. Song for the Buckeyes.
What?
Oh, man, I'm ready. I'm ready. If you're ready for playoff football, if you're ready, hold on. I got to stop sharing, or else I'm hearing the song in the background. I got to turn it off. Listen to it. Just keep going. There it is. If you are ready for playoff football at Ohio Stadium, if you're ready for the Buckeyes against Tennessee, if you're not ready, we're going to get you ready, because coming on right now, we're bringing him in. It's MEKKA Don. MEKKA Don, welcome on into the Garage Beers podcast.
What's going on, guys? How you guys doing?
Oh,
Man.
great, man. How about yourself?
Great. How are you?
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Do people still make like an ugly face when they're feeling something, like that, like that? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they do. Yeah, man. We're old school, man, and that's grandfathered in. We can do that forever.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
That's good, because I feel like things I do need to be grandfathered in. Getting old, MEKKA. Getting old.
For sure. I hear you, bro. I hear you.
Man, so let's get to know you a minute here on the Garage Beers podcast. And first of all, thank you for jumping in. Thank you for taking the time to join us. And we talked about it, man. You're a Columbus kid.
Yeah.
You went to Francis DeSales, right?
St. Francis DeSales.
We
Yep.
a little bit. Chad and I covered high school football, so we saw them a little bit. They got taken out by, I think it was Highland. Didn't Highland take out Francis
The
DeSales?
Crusaders, right?
Crusaders. Yeah, I think so.
No, that was Toledo St. Francis.
No. So there's a Toledo St. Francis DeSales, and there's a Columbus St. Francis DeSales. I'm actually not sure who we lost to this year. I'm sad that I don't know that.
No, you're right. I'm sorry. That is Toledo. I forgot all about that.
But yeah, there's the Columbus one. That's the one that Ryan Day's son plays for.
Yes.
RJ Day. It's the one, my same high school. Gary Berry, Luke Fickle,
Yeah.
all Stallions. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go.
That's it.
So man, you were a walkout at Ohio State, right?
Yeah. So I only played football my senior year of high school. We were so amazing. We won the states that year, and we had like
Not a big deal.
multiple guys go Division I. Our whole offensive line went Division I. Our quarterback went Division I. Like it was a sick team. And so I got, just by the virtue of, having those extra games and obviously having that quality of teammates, we used to have scouts and all kinds of people coming to our games. Not for me, but for those guys. And I was fast, and so I caught the eye of a couple people, and ended up getting invited to be a preferred walk-on at Ohio State, which was amazing because I already had a full ride academic scholarship to Ohio State. So I was like, oh, this is perfect.
Bonus.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And that's how it ended up happening.
Dude. So Ohio State, you played football there a couple of years. You experienced life as a Buckeye in the horseshoe, man.
Yeah.
And listen, we love the Buckeyes, but you get to those big programs, right? You get to, I know we don't like to talk about that team up north, but you get to them, you get to State, you get to Ohio State, you get to Alabama, you get to, Florida State, those ones. You walk out of that tunnel, man, You walk out of that tunnel as an Ohio State Buckeye. Do you remember your first time coming out of the tunnel and looking at the horseshoe as a player?
I think I do, man. And I was just I couldn't believe it, man. Just like, because first of all, like growing up, obviously I grew up a big Buckeye fan. I was born and raised in Columbus, youngest of four kids. We all went to Ohio State. Parents taught at Ohio State. We are an Ohio State family.
Let's
So
go.
I'd always experienced it from that side. I never ever in my wildest dreams imagined that I would experience it from the player side. And I remember just, I think your perspective on how, first of all, just how big the horseshoe is, right? Like literally how many people are in there is different when you're in the stands, kind of just looking around versus literally on the field and you can hear the roars.
Oh,
That was, and I was me and Andre Griffin, Archie's son. We were always a lot of the first two to run out. We always made that our thing. So, I was, we weren't going to be on the field. So that's our moment, let's go. And it was just every single time felt like it was the first time. It was amazing.
Oh, man. So,
yeah, man.
Then you
Oh,
move.
sorry,
from
Chad.
Ohio
I
State.
didn't mean to cut you off. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, you're good. You're good.
Sorry.
So, moving out from Ohio State, you go to NYU.
Yeah.
Were you always interested in law? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, interestingly, when I got to school to Ohio State, I was actually pre-med. I thought I was going to be a doctor. My brother and my sister are both physicians.
Listen to this guy for a minute. Right. I thought I was going to be a doctor. Then I went to law school. I played football at Ohio State.
It's crazy.
Can I give you something to make it turn gold? Is that possible?
If you do that, I might have to keep it.
Oh,
then
God,
you might have to send me
Okay.
something else, and I have to see if I can do it twice.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. I'll be right there with you. Yeah. Jesus
So,
Christ.
so my siblings were my oldest two siblings are actually doctors, and they were both in med school at the time that I was at Ohio State. And I remember they were doing this is when 36-hour shifts were legal for students. That's not legal anymore. And I saw them doing that, and I was just like, first of all, sorry, can I curse on the show or no?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Hi, dude.
I was like, fuck that. I'm not doing 36-hour shifts. No, absolutely not. So I was like, I need to find another major. I need to figure out something else that I feel like is fulfilling, that is, prestigious and has some cachet, and also can serve other purposes kind of in my life. And so I ended up taking this introduction to law class. This was at Ohio State. And my professor was, told me at the end, he said, you have a really nice, great legal mind. You should consider law school. And I was like, okay. I never really thought about it.
Okay.
And that was what really kind of precipitated it. And then, realizing that I had also a lot of entrepreneurial and entertainment goals, I realized that it was a degree that was going to help me in a lot of different ways as I started to move through life.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's kind of what made it make sense. And then obviously being in New York and getting into NYU, and that's like killing a lot of birds with one stone. That's where a lot of the entertainment industry and things like that were happening. So it was just it was like a dream come true for all that to kind of come together at once.
Yeah. You could have been a doctor. You could have been a lawyer. You were a lawyer. You could have. Yeah, I remember you put a belt on this morning.
Yeah. But funny enough, guys, I'm a doctor now, and it only took me a year and a half. No big deal.
Yeah. Right.
Doogie Howser.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this, and then we're gonna get into the Buckeyes.
Sure. Yeah.
Because I'm sure you're ready for this weekend. I'm sure you're ready, and I can't wait to hear your take as somebody who experienced the roars and the excitement of the horseshoe coming out of the tunnel as a player and all that.
Yeah.
But let's move on to that next phase, which is entrepreneur. You see the Still Dope the T-shirt that you're wearing there. So you've got your own brand. You get into music, man, and I talked about it in the intro. You've worked with some big name musicians. And was that the passion all along? Like you said, you had a heart and a desire for entertainment. You got the law because it kind of helps you in that area. But taking that step, making that leap. Talk about that process.
Yeah, music was really always the thing that excited me the most growing up. Even when I hear stories. I don't remember this, but my parents and siblings tell stories of me breakdancing for people in the neighborhood when I was like 4 or 5 years old, literally. So it was something that was really music was a big thing in my household, from my parents all the way to my siblings all the way down. My brother was the one that really introduced me to to hip hop probably. And then we also formed a band, my brother and I, in high school, and I was a drummer. He was a guitarist. We were trying all different types of music and kind of really learning on the fly. And but the passion had always been there. And I really fell in love with hip hop early because I just felt like it was such an awesome way to express myself, and obviously I wasn't good at first start. Some people probably think I'm still not good, but it was something that you felt like it was like, you could just be yourself. And early on, I wasn't myself. I was actually trying to be DMX or Tupac or whoever else, right? And then, the people that I admired. But I realized that still that, I had to kind of go through this process to kind of figure out who I am and find my way. And it became such a powerful tool to kind of communicate with people. And, I have a lot of energy. And so I'm a very energetic person on stage. And so it just gave me like, it's like a lot of different outlets to kind of, or an outlet to express a lot of different emotions and feelings and stuff that I had. And then as I became, a writer as well, then it was my whole world like expanded. It's like I could really just talk to people through
Yeah.
music. So that was kind of the thing that, had always, really, really pushed me and always was like the number one passion. But I also came from a very smart family and an educated family, and education was very important. I also love sports, obviously, right? I played multiple sports in high school, I always kind of wanted to be a well-rounded person, but at the end of the day, music was the thing that just would never left, and never will. I mean, it's the thing that keeps me up at night, it's the thing that wakes me up early in the morning. So
We love it. All right. Now that
Hey,
we've become best
man,
friends.
we
Now that
share
we're all
one
best
similarity.
friends.
I want to say this. We share one similarity here, Don. You said you were
Breakdancing in front of the neighborhood.
breakdancing in front of the neighborhood. There was one time that I thought I was Turbo from Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo.
hilarious. I love it.
And then I realized I could not dance on the ceiling on the roof of my room, and then it ended. I fell
that
one
was
too
the
many
end.
times, man.
That was the end. I understand, man. We've all been there.
Sometimes you got to wake up from the dreams. Sometimes the
100%.
dreams come crashing down.
Definitely.
All right, so let's talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes, and let's talk about. I first want to talk about the thing that I think I'm most excited about, and I've been shouting for this expanded playoff on this podcast for 4+ years, almost 5 years. And we're here. We've got 12 games. I initially said 16. 12's cool, though. It's better than 4. And the thing that I think I'm most excited about for this upcoming weekend is we got 4 schools. We got Texas, we got Notre Dame, we got Penn State, and then obviously we got the Ohio State Buckeyes hosting actual postseason games that matter. And you've got it happening in 4 places that are really iconic places in college football, man. When you just think about these locations, again, the places I listed, and obviously we harp on Ohio State, but hosting a game is big. Like the Horseshoe has never hosted a game. And I know how big Michigan games have been. I know like 2002 when it was our buddy Mo Hall that we've had on here several times and the Buckeyes beating Michigan to go to the national championship, but they've never hosted a postseason game. And now it's happening, man. What do you think the vibe is going to be in that stadium? And what do you think? Like it's going to be electric across the country, correct?
Yeah, I think, well, specifically for the Ohio State Tennessee game, I'll start there. I mean, you're talking about rabid dog fan bases, right? Like the
Yes.
sick'em type fan bases,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Like,
Yes.
and you're already seeing it play out on social media. And then there's stuff about ticket sales and stuff, and I don't know what to believe. I'm trying not to get too caught up in the weeds with that.
Nah.
But there are definitely going to be a lot of Tennessee fans there. And then Ohio State, obviously we always show up. But then there's also kind of like even just the atmosphere itself, it's going to be different, right? Like Ohio State has things planned, in-game stuff that we have never seen before, right? That we'll see for the first time. They got this is the show now, right? This is the whole world is watching now. This isn't just like a straight regular season game. This is big business. This is entertainment, right? So entertain us, right? So there's that aspect of it too that I think is going to be amazing, and that's going to also be true like in the other places you mentioned, Texas and Notre Dame and Penn State as well. I mean, Penn State, my God,
It's gonna be wild.
So it's gonna be nuts, and then you have these other fan bases. like Indiana, for example, going to Notre Dame. I mean,
Oh,
that's come on, man. This is
In-state playoff game. Come
just
on.
a dream matchup.
and the thing is for Indiana, and this isn't a shot at Kurt Signetti because he's a great coach,
Yeah.
but this may be the only time that they ever get to this dance. It may not
Yeah.
be, but just it may be. And so for a lot of their fans, this is something that one of those moments that they're always going to remember. The very first time. These are the stories they're going to be telling their kids and their grandkids. Like, yes, the very first expanded playoff, we made it, and we played at Notre Dame. No matter what happens. So I think that juice and excitement is something that can't really be duplicated. And given the fact that it's the first ever one, is also amazing. And the last thing I'll say is that some of these matchups are matchups that we may never get otherwise, right? So with Texas, Clemson, Ohio State, Tennessee. When was the last time Ohio State played Tennessee? I mean, I don't.
No, it's
We ever-
97, 96.
Yeah,
Yes.
97,
Something like
something like yeah.
Yeah. So it's
25
these
years.
matchups are, I mean, insane. So it's gonna be nuts this weekend.
I didn't understand the whole Tennessee, like everybody, don't sell your tickets. We need everybody. Tennessee's going to invade. Like, did we just think that Tennessee was going to bring no fans whatsoever? Like, there was going to be no fans? Like, no. Ohio State, it's going to be the majority of Ohio State fans.
Yeah.
Everybody settle down.
Yeah, I think so too. I do think that they're going to be probably more Tennessee fans than you think.
Well, sure.
That's okay, though.
And it's fine. That's fine. Like, I'm not looking at. To me, that's not. It's people are talking about that too much. I'm not even. I just skip over that every time I see it. It's like I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, we got to go win that game regardless. Even if it ends up being 90% Tennessee fans and some crazy miracle, doesn't matter. We got to go win the game.
Hey, listen. You do a lot of stuff with this Ohio State program and all, but the last time we saw these Buckeyes, they were doing what they do against that team up north, which is, in my opinion, play a totally different ball game than what got them to where they are. Last time we saw them, they completely ignored the skill position players. They completely ignored Ibuka and Smith and those guys on the outside, and they tried to out physical. It's like they play that game against Michigan and they feel like they have to beat them at that physical Big Ten football game, when in reality they should have been launching the ball downfield all day long. To make those Michigan defenders make plays, which they would not have done.
Yeah.
We've seen this now a couple times. And we've seen Ohio State get into the playoffs after a loss against Michigan. We're not supposed to say that name, but when they beat you that many times, you got to say the name. You just have to.
It is what it is, yeah.
But like the last time we saw Ohio State lose to Michigan and get into the playoffs, they damn near beat Georgia. They should have beat if the kicker didn't lose his mind at the end of the game. And so talk about Ohio State just getting back, as a guy that played college football, played for Ohio State, and after what you watched against that Michigan team, talk about Ohio State getting back to the Ohio State that we watched all season, which is taking advantage of the matchups and using their strengths and getting after Tennessee.
So let me start with this. If you were to just close your eyes, and which I'm not saying anybody should do, and just say, all right, let's evaluate the season. Everybody gets one game that they get to throw out, right? That they just say, just that game just didn't count. Everybody has one of those games. Even Oregon had one against Wisconsin, which they should have lost that game, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
The fact that it's Michigan obviously makes it what's hard for Ohio State fans to swallow. The fact that it was the last game of the season, the fact that there's, all that type of stuff. That being said, though, I'm able to look at that game and say, as far as the playoffs are concerned, I can throw that game out because that's not who Ohio State is. And there's a mental thing, I think, that happens in that game that you kind of described, particularly this year, that I think is just unlike any other game that we're gonna see. So for me, I look at it and I say, okay, we can have a conversation about that game and the team up north and why we can't beat them. And I think that's a legitimate conversation. But I think what I thought about Ohio State before that game is still what I think about Ohio State now. I still think Ohio State is the best or one of the best teams in the country. I still don't think there's anybody in the country that Ohio State can't beat. I do think, though, obviously, I think part of what to be complete, I think part of what people's angst is Well, how do you know they're not going to clam up? The coaches aren't going to clam up and coach like that again in a tense situation or in a playoff game. We can't trust them. That. And that's fair. But I don't look at it that way. I really look at that game as as a separate animal. And so I think the good news for me as a fan is that we still have Jeremiah Smith, we still
Yes.
have Quinton Judkins, we still have Travion. You know what I mean? Like we still have those guys. Those guys are still there. The talent is still there. In fact, the loss in some ways may make these guys even more like chip on their shoulder, ready to go prove something. In a lot of ways, I think so. I think that's what's happening. Just from my feelings from being around the program, I feel like these guys are chomping at the bit to get back out there to prove to the world like that last game was the game we want to throw out, right? So I don't I hear a lot of like negativity on social media. I don't know. Sometimes social media is an echo chamber or some of the 5% instead of the 95% are getting amplified. And so that's what you see. I don't know if that's truly how all Ohio State fans are feeling, but there's a lot of negativity out there. I'm not on that side at all. Like I really believe that this is something that we can go win. I think we can beat Tennessee. I think we can beat Oregon. I think we can beat Texas. I think we can beat Georgia. I think we can do that. So I'm a realist. I'm an optimist, but I'm also real, right? Like I don't say that every single season. There's some years where I felt like I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. This year, I think we can. So I'm just kind of trying to throw that game out and give them a chance to prove themselves. Here's the other thing. We'll probably touch on this a little bit more, but I think Ryan Day and that coaching staff, a lot of them, they realize they're coaching for. I don't want to say they're necessarily coaching for their jobs, but in some ways they may be, right?
Yeah.
Right,
And
they
coaching.
may realize that their seat will get a little warmer if they don't.
Oh, way more than warm. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And also coaching for respect, right? I think nationally we're a joke. One of the things that I think has happened with this loss, and I'll end on this, and then so we can jump into to the next question, but is that everyone who watched that game against Michigan is blaming only the coaching staff. In previous years, people were blaming the players. We're soft. We're not good. But for the most part, everyone who watched it was like, "What are the coaches doing? What are the coaches doing?" I mean, 6-year-old kids were like, "Why aren't they throwing the ball to Jeremiah Smith?" You know what I mean? Like, and so I think
They're
that
not
that
wrong.
was, yeah. So I think that that was an embarrassment, even more for the coaches than it actually even was for the players. And so hopefully we'll see how they respond to that. But these guys are coaching for their livelihoods right now, so I expect to see some fireworks.
Now let me ask you this, and this is like purely a hypothetical, obviously, because this is the situation now. But I put out a poll on our show's Twitter page, right? I asked people. I asked, would you trade losing to Michigan every year if it means you have a shot at a national championship? Right. And it was surprisingly, it ended up being 65% to like 45% that people would rather beat Michigan than have a chance at the national championship game. So I'm just curious. Obviously I know you don't feel that way, but it kind of brought a question in my mind. Like if this wasn't a 12-team championship and it was still a 4-team championship, again, hypothetical, would you still have those same feelings about this current coaching staff and the current players?
Ooh.
I think it's a great question. So I'm gonna touch on a couple of things. First of all, your math added up to 110%. I'm not sure if you guys
I don't know. I like there's like 60-some%.
I just mess.
All right. We know you're smarter than both of us. Leave it alone.
Messing around. No. So here's the interesting thing. If there were 4 teams in this playoff this year, Ohio State would probably be the 4th seed.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Yeah. No, because they have the 4th best resume. So, like the way that they got ranked, obviously, because the automatic bids to conference champions. But you're talking about 3 lost champions in Clemson. They're not going to get in over Ohio State. No. So, like, we would have got in over Penn State, right? Because we have a better resume than Penn State. I mean, theoretically, right?
Beat the crap out of Penn State.
Yeah. So, we still might have gotten in. So let me just say that. But I do think, though. And to your question, I had never actually heard anybody phrase the poll that you did that way. I've always heard beat Michigan, not win the national championship, or win the national championship and lose to Michigan. Never like, oh, a chance for a national championship. I don't think a chance for a national championship to me is just and maybe this I'm just too ingrained. Like I don't think that's better than beating Michigan.
Sure.
I think you have to, if you lose to Michigan, you got to go win it. That's
Yeah.
what makes the season great. There are three goals that we have every season:
Right.
beat Michigan, win a Big Ten championship, and win a national championship. So if you're going to lose to Michigan, then you have to accomplish one of those other goals for it to be a successful season. You have to accomplish it. So that's my take on kind of the poll. I do think though, and that the staff. Let's just say, who knows if we would have gotten that fourth spot or not. So let's just say that we did get in because it's expanded. I think that gave them a lifeline that this would have been an unbearable offseason.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you're talking about the calls for firing now. I mean, and who knows? Another decision may have had to be made at that time, right? So, and if you allow me to, I'm going to jump into another part of this too,
Yeah,
because I think
sure,
this is relevant. So people, Ross Bjork, he got asked, our AD, he got asked, do you guys expect to have Ryan Day on the sidelines next year, regardless of what happens in the playoff? And he said emphatically, yes, he'll be our coach. And people went into a crazy uproar about that. The people who want Ryan Day fired went into an uproar about that. And I just watching this online, I'm like, don't you guys understand how business and like this business works? What do you think he's gonna say?
Yeah.
Even if he's thinking in his head,
Right.
oh,
Right.
he's out of here. He's gonna tell us that now, right?
No,
a week
I'm
before
gonna
the
get fired. I'm
playoffs.
Yeah,
gonna
right
get
before the
canned
playoff.
tomorrow.
You know what?
We'll
We're not
see.
sure if Ryan's going to be back.
You can't do that. Then you start losing recruits. Parents start wondering, like, no, you don't do that. That's not what you're supposed to do. And the other thing is that, we've always, I don't want to call it the dreaded vote of confidence. I'm not saying that's what it was, but you're not going to upset kind of the ecosystem by doing that, right? So, but as new data comes in, and this is what all leaders have to deal with, as new data comes in, you can now evaluate a new data point. If we go and get blown out by Tennessee, that's a totally different conversation than it was before that game.
That answer is going to be different.
Right.
100% different, right? So I think that I think a lot of us who are watching kind of understand what's happening here, which is that Ryan Day has done a good job of keeping this program where it's been at, top 5 program. I don't think anybody thinks we're not really a top 5 program. He hasn't ruined the program from that perspective, right? He's done a good job in recruiting. Hasn't won some of the games we needed him to win, but it's not like we're not like Florida State or USC, who's winning 5 games a year and is in flux, right? We're still kind of at the top. So I think that's real. He's also won a lot of games. And people can say, well, anybody can win those games. Well, he won them, right? So he won a lot of games. But I think anyone who's being honest is watching right now and saying, this is getting hot. This is getting hot.
Yeah.
Because the expectations at Ohio State are different. I mean, every coach since the 50s had won 10 games at Ohio State. That's not something that we celebrate at Ohio State.
Right.
And you could say that's unfair. You could say it's, we're a spoiled fan base and all that type of stuff. People say that. And that might be true, but part of it is because that's just what we're used to. Even John Cooper, my coach, was winning 10 games. That's not the standard here.
No, but MEKKA, that, like you just brought it up. Right now, as it sits, you might not love it, you might not love to hear it, but the coach you're going to compare Ryan Day the most to right now is John Cooper.
Yeah.
A dude that went out and won 10 games every year. A dude that went out and had Ohio State as a top 5 program every freaking year. Eddie George and Andy Katzenmoyer and Orlando Peace and MEKKA and like that group of guys.
Yeah.
And then he would play Michigan every year and he would lose.
Yeah. I think there's a couple things that make it potentially different.
The playoff.
And the playoff for sure, and the opportunity to go win a title. I think that
it makes me
Ryan
sad
Day
for John Cooper, by the way, that he never had that chance.
Yeah. And then, like you mentioned the Georgia game earlier, like you just wonder, like, what happens if we make that kick and he goes on and win a national championship? It's a totally different narrative. So the question really is right now, is he John Cooper or is he Kirby Smart? And I think that is what's the next year or two will really tell, and this is year 6, right? And I think Kirby Kirby, if you guys remember, Kirby was getting crushed for years when he
Yeah.
first came in. They're like, he's the next Mark Richt. He's the same. He can't win the big one. And he would lose to Alabama, and then he would go win the national championship, And even I think at least one of the national championships he lost to Alabama that year.
Yes.
So I think that this is the crossroads, right? We're at a crossroads right now where it is this John Cooper or is this Kirby? And here's the other thing I think is a little different. And I don't want to go too deep into this because I don't want to get into trouble, but I think that Ryan Day, his players love him in a way that I don't think the other people were comparing him to loved their coach. I don't think I don't think my teammates loved Cooper the way Ryan Day's players love him. And that's something that you have to factor that in as an AD. We don't have to care about that as fans so much, I guess. But it's something you got to really, really take a step back and wonder, okay, it changes the decision that you make, right? When Cooper got fired, it was kind of time and we moved on and it was what it was, right? And there's guys that have good relationships with him and stuff like that, but it wasn't doomsday necessarily in the locker room.
Nah.
But Ryan, he's got a lot of support from a lot of guys and a lot of families. And, I posted some stuff on social media and we had some parents to come out like, look, Ryan is our guy. You know what I mean? And, that's going to happen, obviously. And then I think that also there's some people that feel like he's gotten a couple bad breaks. Obviously the Georgia game last year, if McCord doesn't get hit on that last play, Marvin probably walks in the end zone. We beat Michigan. It's a totally different season. You know what I mean? And it's like a play here, a play there. So, but that all being said, you got to win, man. This is the win business. Nobody wants to hear about I think Nebraska a couple years ago went like 3-9 and they lost all of their games by like less than 6 points or something like that. But it doesn't matter. You lost 9 games. Like that's what this is. You're getting paid millions of dollars. You're getting resources. You're getting whatever you want, staff, whatever. You got to go win. So I think that's where we are right now. And I think anyone who's being honest knows that Ryan has to go win.
All right, boys, before we let you out of here, Mecca, let's do this. Let's play this game and let's hear your thoughts on this. Let's throw this back up on the screen.
Nice.
Let's leave that top left quadrant until the end.
Okay.
And let's start in the bottom left and we'll work our way around. We'll go counterclockwise.
Okay.
So you see how it's set up. Clemson and Texas. Clemson ends the year on a heater.
Yeah.
Texas loses the SEC championship game, but otherwise a great first year in the SEC. And then the winner of that game is going to go play the Arizona Sun Devils in a bowl game. Arizona picked to finish last in the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a great year.
Yeah.
And so talk about that bottom left. Chad, Mecca, you guys both chime in. How are we feeling? Which team's going to enter the Final Four out of that quadrant?
It's got to be Texas to me. I'm a Dabo hater, by the way, just so you know. A proud Dabo.
You're preaching to the choir there, buddy.
Okay. All right, cool. So I just, and they're just been one of the best teams. I mean, obviously they've had some struggles, but I don't see them losing. I don't see them losing any of these games.
Yeah, no, I don't see it either. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means because Dabo, I mean, you got to his credit, he's got a playoff pedigree. He's always going to have Clemson ready to go. But I just think Texas is way too talented this year for Clemson at least. And I think Texas moves on.
Yep.
I think that Clemson game could be close.
Yeah.
I think it'd be close. I don't think if Texas beats Clemson, I don't think the Arizona State game is close.
I agree with that.
I think Texas steamrolls through Arizona State.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
But the winner of that first game is going to have a leg up. So I think it's an interesting matchup, even though it looks very much like Texas's.
I agree.
And I love Cam Scatabo, but Texas kills him.
You go over to the bottom right, man. And I'm going to say Penn State fans are going to lose their shit if Penn State doesn't come out of that side of the bracket because you're going to host a game against SMU, which SMU's been great. They have been great this year. And then you're going to go play Boise. If you beat SMU, you're going to go play Boise. You have to be like, when all this stuff is said and done, Penn State has to beat SMU at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to go play Boise. It's going to be a little bit of a riot situation if one of those teams gets Penn State, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Boise is going to be tough. Obviously, their running game, if they can keep it close and keep it low scoring, control the ball, Boise could pull off an upset there. But I'm still going to go with Penn State because I think Penn State is. I mean, they're probably going to be too talented for 4 quarters for Boise. So it's a good story, Boise State. But I think Penn State. I mean, look at the draw they got. My goodness. But yeah, I think I'm picking them out of that quadrant too.
I love this SMU team. I do. I do. I think they're resilient. But I think in the end, Penn State's finally going to win a big game. Finally. And I don't know that second round matchup. I still think Penn State wins, but man, Boise has been in some big moments and has been in some big games. So they're not going to be any stranger. I mean, I know it's that program's long gone. The Statue of Liberty play for when they beat Oklahoma is long gone. I was at that game, by the way. No big deal.
Wow.
But I do think Penn State still comes out of there for sure.
Yeah.
All right, top right. I do think as an Ohio State guy, I love Ohio State, but I do think the most fun matchup of the first round is this Indiana Notre Dame matchup. It's in state. It's at Notre Dame. All I can think about is the movie Rudy, where the dad walks into that stadium and says, "This is the most beautiful sight these guys have ever seen." And it's hosting a playoff game against in-state rival Indiana. And Indiana fans use their basketball confidence.
Yeah.
The football program. So they're big confident this year.
Yeah.
But it's the first time we've hit in this one where that first round game is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But the winner's looking at Georgia. Good luck.
I think Indiana's going to make it interesting, but I think Notre Dame is gonna win, and I think Notre Dame is probably the most underrated team in this whole thing. Part of it is because that loss to Northern Illinois, I remember when it happened, we just wrote them off, and it was hard to really get back on their train after that, right?
Yeah.
But if you've actually watched some of their football since then, I mean, they played some really, really solid football, and they're going to be a tough out. In fact, not only are they going to be a tough out, I think they're going to go and beat Georgia. I think that's
let's go.
Yeah, now we're getting to the juicy stuff. Yeah,
let's go.
I think Notre Dame comes out of that bracket. Yeah, I think that's going to be a tough game, obviously, but I think Notre Dame is going to shock some people in that game.
MEKKA probably has nothing to do with Marcus Freeman being an Ohio State guy.
No, it really does not.
No.
It does not. I promise.
Not at all, MEKKA.
No, it does not. It does not.
Hey, Mike hit pause on this. You can tell us.
No,
I didn't hit pause.
I know. I'm just kidding.
No.
No, this is my favorite matchup of the first round too. Here, Mike. I think there's something about it. It's fun, right? Like Indiana's the new kid on the block. They're looking for respect, right? And I don't think I don't know if they're going to go 11-1 like year after year after year. But I feel like Curt Cignetti, a guy like him, is going to have this team at least be respectable from years. I mean, think about all the Indiana years of the past. I think he's going to be able to sustain a good team in Indiana, but they're looking for respect. And I think they're going to make it fun for for 3 quarters maybe. And I see Notre Dame pulling away. This to me feels like a 49-28 type of game. Right. And I agree with you, MEKKA. I think Notre Dame beats Georgia.
Yeah, man.
Beats Georgia.
We're bringing the heat tonight
because Georgia is not Georgia this year, of the past. They are not
very susceptible.
They struggle stopping teams, and Riley Leonard has been on fire these last few weeks. So I think Notre Dame beats Georgia. I do.
Yep, I do too. I know it sounds crazy, but if Georgia is not the Georgia of old, if you just it's hard to do. It's hard to separate the past from what we saw this year. But if you're able to just do that for a second, you realize, man, they're a very susceptible team. And Notre Dame is the type of team you can't mess around against.
I think Indiana's beating Notre Dame.
Woo!
I do.
Add a little more spice.
I think there was a kick in the ass to Indiana. They talked a lot of shit going into that Ohio State game, if you remember. But that's Curt Cignetti's motto, right? He talks shit. and then he backs it up, and he has backed it up, whether he was at James Madison or now in his first year at Indiana. I mean, look at what they have done.
Yeah.
I don't think he is God's gift to coaching, but I do think he has brought an element to a program that they have never seen before.
Yeah.
And that's an element of confidence.
Yeah.
I don't have that confidence in Notre Dame. I do think they played well. I think they've bounced back from things, but I think Indiana is going to go into that in-state rival and they're gonna flex a little muscle. I think Indiana's going to get that win in that first round, and then I think they're going to get beat up by Georgia.
They're going to get smoked by Georgia.
I think they're going to get beat up.
One other thing I'll say about Indiana is they do have some talent too. They got a lot of transfers over there. They got guys with chips on their shoulder. I mean, it's going to be. That's why I said I think they're going to keep it interesting for sure. It's not going to be. I don't think Notre Dame's just going to roll over them at all.
Well, and there's something about a team, right, that takes on the personality of its coach, right? That team plays with a lot of swagger.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the one we were talking about before. The Ohio State Buckeyes, the Tennessee Volunteers at the Horseshoe. We got the Volunteers threatening to take over the Horseshoe, which isn't going to happen. But Ohio State's going to have to play a good-ass football game to get by Tennessee. And then the gift, if they do, is going to be the number one team in the country, which this is the matchup that I am dying for. So I'm going to let you guys talk about that first round matchup, and then we'll talk about potentially that second round.
So I think the Ohio State Tennessee game is it's actually a tough game. It's a tough matchup for Ohio State. They have a good running game, pretty competent quarterback, D-line that's aggressive. But one of the things that I think people haven't really paid a lot of attention to recently is Ohio State has played some pretty tough defenses in Michigan and Penn State.
Yes.
And their offensive line, even with the injuries, has held up really well, So I think everyone thinks that I look at Michigan, their defensive line, probably one of the best in the country, right? But if we had schemed that game a certain way, I think we win that game. I think everybody kind of believes that, right? And that's kind of how I look at this game. I think it's kind of a similar. Obviously, Tennessee's better than Michigan, but overall as a team. But I think schematically we have some advantages on the outside, and if our offensive line can hold up as well as they've held up in those games against those tough D lines, I mean, this could be a 10, 14 point win by Ohio State. So I think that it's so hard for people to think that now because of what happened in Michigan, and some people can't get that out of their mind. But the way I looked at Ohio State before that game, there's a reason why we're 7.5, or I think we opened at 9.5 point, and not maybe 7.5 point favorites. There's a reason for that. And it's not random. And again, I'm not saying Vegas is God, but there's a reason for that. And it's a respect to who Ohio State actually can be. And if Ohio State comes out and plays how I think they can play, I mean, it'll be a tough game, but I think it's a game that we can win by double digits.
I'm going to be honest. After Tennessee lost to Arkansas, I kind of just forgot about them. I kind of just I didn't pay attention to them the rest of the season. I don't know why. I don't know how they just slipped through the cracks. I just kind of forgot about it. I just stopped thinking about it. But I mean, the biggest key for Ohio State, I mean, you touched on it, Don, is they got to get the ball to their playmakers. If they go into this game playing with the same game plan, trying to out physical, because Tennessee is very good, has a very good front seven on their defense. If they if they try to out physical Tennessee again, or Tennessee like they did in Michigan, I think it's a tough game to win. But as long as they go in with an aggressive game plan, looking to push the ball downfield again, get the ball into the playmakers in space, I think they're going to have success. I think they can win by 2 touchdowns, and I think they're going to, because the last 4 years, and I've said it many times on this show, postseason Ohio State, very different from Michigan, from Ohio State team that plays Michigan. So I think they're going to come out being very aggressive, and I think they do. I think they win this game by 8 to 10 points.
Man, Tennessee came out with a great start to the year. They came out, man, Nico Iamaleava, I'm so bad at saying his name, but Iamaleava, there it was. What a great start to the year. What a season he has had, but he's been a little inconsistent. He has not been efficient in the slightest bit. He's a big play master, but he's also a guy that's kind of prone to maybe not making the easy play or not making the smart play.
Right.
And I think Ohio State's gonna make him pay for that. I think Ohio State's defense has been good.
Yeah.
And again, and Chad, you hit on it, and MEKKA, you hit on it, man. You get to this part of the season. If you want to crush Ryan Day for the Michigan failures, you can.
Mm-hmm.
But you look at what's happened after that, and it feels like they bounce back and realize who they are once that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens in this game against Tennessee in the Horseshoe,
Yeah.
there's no coming back for Tennessee.
Yeah. I agree. And I think our defense is I think it's respected, but I think our defense is really good and also
Yes.
opportunistic. And for a quarterback, you got to be really sharp against our defense, or we're going to make something happen against you. So, yeah, I like Ohio State in this game.
And let's just real quickly, because we kind of talked about who we thought was going to come out of each quadrant. So let's say that happens. Let's say Ohio State beats Tennessee, and then it's a rematch. And the thing that pissed me off most about the Michigan game is that it deprived us of a neutral field rematch against Oregon, because Ohio State did go to Autzen Stadium this year and lose to Oregon in a game they really should have won. But hostile environment at Oregon on the road. It's a tough place to play.
Yep.
Put those two teams on a neutral site. I think Ohio State is, in my opinion, I think Ohio State's far and away the better team from Oregon. And I know they've been number one all season, but give me that neutral site game. I'll lead us off on this one. But I think if Ohio State gets past Tennessee, Ohio State's going to the Final Four.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ohio State, I mean, obviously, I think I don't agree that Ohio State's far and away better than Oregon, but I do think that they are a better team. And a neutral field game against them, I think we'll probably be like a 2-point favorite in that game.
Yeah.
I think that the edge is with Ohio State. So again, you're gonna have to execute, and you're gonna have to, play your game. I think our defense has actually gotten better since that game started. We've schematically have shifted a lot of things. We'll probably blitz more. We're gonna make life tougher for Dylan Gabriel this time around.
Yes.
And I think that's bad news for them. So that first game actually changed Ohio State's defensive philosophy for the rest of the season. And we've seen them be kind of monsters since then. So I pray that we get that game. It's a crazy road that we have to go through Tennessee and Oregon just to get to the semis. But I think these boys are going to be ready. So I agree with you. If we get past Tennessee, I think we're going to get past Oregon in the Rose Bowl. And that's going to be might be the game of the season right there.
I think this is a true coin flip. I think Ohio State Oregon's a true coin flip to me. You mentioned that the defense has gotten better. They played that game in Autzen Stadium, obviously without their best edge rusher in Jordan Birch. I think that they're going to get a little bit more pressure on Will Howard in the game, and I don't know. I don't know if I can pick a winner because I can't. It's a coin flip. Obviously, bias. I'm going to say Ohio State's going to win that game.
Yeah,
but I think it's I think it's another close 1-2 point game. It's going to come right down to the wire. So yeah, I'm going to pick Ohio State, but man, that is a tough game for me to unequivocally say that Ohio State or Oregon's going to win it.
And how brutal for Oregon to be the number one overall seed, undefeated Big Ten champions. And your first game that you might have to play in the playoffs is against a team that almost pretty much beat you at home.
At home.
I mean, that's rough for them. A rough one. That's one of the things I don't like about this playoff this year is how they did the seeding. I think they got to fix that. I think there are already conversations about fixing the seeding, the automatic bids, and all that type of stuff like that. They got to reseed this thing. This isn't fair. It's not fair to Oregon, the route that they would have to go just to get to the title. You might have to go through Ohio State and Texas just to get to the title game. Like those are both title type games. So, but
hey, you're number one and won your conference. Here you go.
Congrats.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. MEKKA Dunn, I'm going to give you a last word on this before we let you out of here, man. And we've been talking about a lot about Ohio State, but you look at the playoffs, you look at the bracket. And I'm going to let you call your shot here. How far are the Buckeyes going? How far are the Buckeyes going? Where are they going to take it?
I'm taking Ohio State all the way, man. I think Ohio State plays Notre Dame in the national championship game.
Woo!
And I think that Ohio State wins that game. I think Ohio State actually wins that game by like 10, 14 points. I think their hardest game is going to be probably Oregon. I think they actually beat Texas, probably by a touchdown or so. And I think they go and win the whole thing, man. That's what I thought before the Michigan game. That Michigan game, believe it or not, I know for some people it changed their mind. For me, it did not. So I'm not going to move off of that just because of that game, especially when I understand the history and everything that goes into that game. So I'm staying with that prediction, man. Ohio State goes all the way. Buckle up, baby.
Go.
Buckle up. Let's go. Hey,
Yeah.
MEKKA, get over to his Twitter page at MEKKA Music. There's a link on the page for a kick-ass buckle up sweatshirt that you can get at the Buckeyes team shop, basically
Yes, sir.
outside. So go buy it. But again, a great story, a Columbus kid that made a lot of dreams come true. Everything you're doing is awesome. Love that you've done the theme song for the Buckeyes, and frankly, I hope your predictions are right, man. It has been awesome having you on. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Hit me up anytime. I love what you guys do. You guys are kicking ass, man. So appreciate it. Go Bucks.
Let's go.
Go Bucks, baby. All right.
MEKKA, what a time with that dude. What a great guy. Again, just makes me feel completely inadequate as a human.
Well,
even though that's not his goal. By the way, it's not what he stands for, but what a guy, smart guy.
Mike,
he has
we didn't
done
have to
so
have
much.
him on to make you feel that way.
What'd you say?
We didn't have to have him on to make you feel
No, I feel that way about like most things. Frankly, most of the commenters here make me feel like that. But just a great guy, great time. And we'll definitely have him on again, especially to talk more Ohio State. So, dude, Chad.
Yeah.
What an episode.
Let's go. There it is.
What an
man.
episode.
There it is.
There it is. I'm just giving us the cheers this week. We get the cheers this week.
Oh, man. I had a pretty good cheers.
All right, go ahead. Give yourself a cheers.
You can give us the cheers. Yeah, you can give us the cheers.
No, you can do a cheers. That's fine.
I wanted to cheers the people of the Pop-Tarts Bowl, man.
I love the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
Huh?
Or the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Like they're just leaning into this gimmick, man, and it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Last year it was a fully edible mascot that the winner got to eat, right? This year it's like a regular championship trophy, but it's like a fully functional toaster that you can toast Pop-Tarts in. Like, good for you guys. Good for you.
You're doing great. You're doing great. You're doing great.
Amazing. South Carolina State and Jacksonville, Southern of the Mary State is gonna enjoy some brown sugar and cinnamon, which, by the way, is the best Pop-Tart. Like, there's no other way.
I like s'mores. S'mores. Give me
answer
s'mores.
to that.
Give me s'mores.
Yeah.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it. We're getting out of here. Episode 243 in the books, and we're just going to do our thank yous. First of all, big time shout out to the OBR for hosting us every week. The Orange and Brown Report, the oldest and largest independent Brown site in Cleveland. And then you can hang out with us and talk Browns, Cavs, Guardians, Buckeyes, Blue Jackets, and all the above. That was a blast, and a big shout out to the OBR for hosting us. Big shout out to our guests. How about the captain of the Blue Jackets, Boone JENNER, for joining us. And also a shout out to our buddy Todd Chirac for helping to set that up with the Blue Jackets. Shout out to Jason Lloyd. First time we've had him on. I feel like we're going to do that again. That was a blast talking Cleveland sports with Jason Lloyd. And big time shout out to MEKKA. Again, Ohio. He wrote the Ohio State theme song, but former Ohio State Buckeye, a lawyer, a musician, damn near a doctor. The dude is awesome, and he was a great time.
President,
and a great guy to talk to.
CEO of whatever he wants, really.
Yeah, whatever he wants.
Yeah.
I would work for him.
Yeah.
That dude wants. Hey, MEKKA, you want me to work for you? I'm on my way, man. I
Yeah.
feel like the sky's the limit.
Deal.
Yeah, that was awesome. So big shout out to our guest tonight. And last but not least, look at all you guys. Big time shout out to everybody that joined us. You guys were awesome. The comments were lively. Love the family that we've built up in the comments. So shout out to you guys for joining us. That's going to do it for episode 243. To be really honest with you, we haven't even talked about episode 244 yet. Not sure what we're going to do because next week it's Christmas Eve. And the week after that is New Year's Eve. So we're going to see what we do for episode 244, but we will we'll let you guys know. Keep it tuned in to the Garage Beers on the socials. Keep it tuned in to the OBR on the socials. And that's going to do it. For Joey, who wasn't here, but we're going to shout him out anyways at Garage Beers Joe. For Chad Meyer at Garage Beers Chad, I am Michael Keefe at Garage Beers Mike. Again, Follow the socials at the Garage Beers. And until the next episode, we'll see you later. Cheers. And I don't know, go all of our teams. I can usually say Browns or Cavs or whatever, but go everybody.
Yeah.